All right, let's get started. Can you guys hear me? Oh, okay, awesome. Welcome, you guys. This is week 2, live session 1. Thank you guys for joining me. I know I kind of gave you guys a short notice of a time change here. Appreciate you guys being patient with me. It's just this week has been crazy with Thanksgiving coming up, and I needed to shift it back a little bit earlier, so I appreciate you guys kind of being flexible with me here. So we're going to meet a little earlier today. So how are you guys? Oh, as we get in here. Oh, how's everything going? Good. I saw a lot of strong papers coming in and reading through all those. It's great to see you guys really thinking about each step of starting your own business, and I hopefully that really made you aware of some things that maybe you weren't aware of. Maybe you weren't aware of how many specifics that you needed to look into, and the steps to actually go through to start a business, to protect yourself, and to do it the right way. And I saw a lot of great mood boards too. I'm going to pull some of those for tomorrow's lecture to show you. I didn't quite have enough time, but I always like to show some of your work. I think it's nice to see what you guys are working on and see examples from within the classroom just to be inspired. So I'll pull those for tomorrow's lecture.
I'm just wanting to let you know, April, that mine did get turned in Sunday, and I know it was late. I told you why it was late.
Okay.
But I did get that in and submitted Sunday.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I think I just evaluate that?
I don't know. We can look after class, though.
Yeah, I think I did. I think yesterday I did get to that, so.
Okay.
Yep.
I can go in then and look now and see.
Yeah, I did grade a whole bunch of late work too, so yeah, that was probably a part of it. Yep.
Okay.
So with Thanksgiving coming up, it's kind of crazy, you guys. It's kind of like good to get your work in as soon as possible this weekend, just so you can relax and enjoy your Thanksgiving day and weekend going into Black Friday. So it's always kind of nice to get that any work that you need to get in as soon as possible, just so that you can relax. If not, no big deal. But just one of those FYIs, if you can get that done, that'd be great, and just be a nice little break for you guys. All right, so just on the agenda, just pretty much this week we're going to be talking about being profitable, how to be profitable as a designer, having a budget. We're going to be discussing that, and then just promoting yourself as a graphic designer. And we kind of are working up to this. So yes, last week, not yesterday, but last week, we, obviously we're looking at the steps in starting a business, and then we did a mood board to promote yourself to a target audience. So we're going to push that a little bit further as we go into this week. So the learning objectives for this week are as such, and this is in your week 2 on Canvas as well. Identify 3 common advantages and 3 common struggles of running a graphic design business versus working for an employer. A lot of you guys, I've read through a lot of your discussions, are really passionate about this, which is great to see that you're thinking about this in your own personal experiences, really looking at all the pros and cons of it and the struggles and the advantages. It's always good to know this, because if you're going into it, you have to know the pros and cons to it, so that you can take that risk if you need to. Create a financial budget for the first 3 years of your business. We'll be going into that as well this week. Design 2 marketing pieces aimed at the business target audience, and then develop a business brand. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff. We're kind of focusing on starting the new business, steps that you need to take. Now we're focusing on the budget, promoting yourself, target audience. So there's a lot of things that we're kind of honing in on this week. So hello world. This is who you are. Think about branding yourself. You may or may not have a logo mark already set for yourself. but this is something that you should be thinking about, that you can even put on your own stationery resume if, you're promoting yourself to an employer, in-house, whatever freelance business that you want to start up. Start thinking about how you're going to start promoting yourself. So as a designer, self-promotion is key to success. You must make people aware of who you are, what you do, and why you are a great fit for their needs, right? So you're explaining to them, hey, you need me. You are always networking no matter where you go. Will you be prepared? It's always good to have all of your ducks in a row, I guess you could say, right? Because you just never know. You might meet somebody out and, they need something done and you're in conversation and, hey, flip them something, a card, postcard, anything, even just giving them a link, through your mobile social media apps. Having something ready to show them is always great. And so it shows that you're prepared too. We're going to get into this a little bit further here, but I want to stop because I think what would be best to do is kind of go over your week 2 information here and start with your discussion first, and then we'll get into the promotional part, which is your assignment 2. So if you go into week 2 in Canvas, again, this kind of goes over what I just went briefly over, your learning objectives. Don't forget your course media. Sometimes we tend to forget about this too, so I just want to bring this up. So week 1, this was everything we talked about in week 1, and then week 2 you have required articles as well as some chapter readings, and lynda.com. A lot of stuff listed here. Doesn't mean you have to look at everything, but if you're trying to figure out something, these are great resources to say, okay, does this talk about any of this? I'll go to this video in lynda.com and check it out. So if you're wondering about specifically, getting a good start when working directly with a client, you can, check this video out here, just, a 2-minute video here, and so on and so forth. Here's challenges freelancer face with agencies, challenges agencies face with freelancers. So there's a lot of relatable material in here for week 2 that you should be aware of. Okay, in discussion 2, like I said, you guys are doing really well with this discussion, but I did want to go over this, see if you have any questions. But yeah, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing so far, so keep up the good work. This is talking about the pros and cons of working for yourself. So I'm going to read through this and let me know if you have any questions. Running your own business is a dream to many. However, it has significant challenges that are not for everyone, and many people are happier working for a good employer instead. It is important that you have good information about the pros and cons of owning your own business before you make that decision for yourself. So here's the prompt. Search the internet for articles written by actual freelance designers or design business owners on the benefits and challenges of being a freelance designer or owning your own design business. Discuss at least 3 advantages and 3 challenges common in this type of work. Also discuss strategies that you can use to overcome the challenges. Remember to cite your sources. So for your citation, you may use articles that show examples of difficulties or benefits to working for yourself. You can also find articles from experts that suggest what things you should consider before starting your own design business. There's a ton of resources out there, not just in your Shark resources, but us just researching online. And in the announcements I just posted, I believe it was yesterday. Let me see here. Pros and cons of being a freelance graphic designer was one of the sources that I found that I thought was pretty good. So if you click on this link, it kind of breaks it down into the pros and cons here. And I like the way that it was written out with the visuals here too. But I like the way that they worded a lot of this stuff. It's not so lengthy. You get to the point. It kind of touches upon all of the pros and the cons, okay? So definitely check this out. There's tons of other resources online too, like I said. And, also in your course media page, there's, obviously some resources there as well. But make sure you're hitting upon all of the specific reply requirements here as well. I had a student ask if only citing one citation is good enough. I think following the guidelines is important because that's kind of how I'm basing your evaluation off of. So if you don't have 2 APA citations, you're not going to get credit for that. So make sure you get at least 2 APA. And I think in this particular discussion, I don't think you're going to have any problems with that. You might even find, an image example and then maybe a fact somewhere in another citation. So 2 follow-up posts, 50 plus words. Just make sure that your address to both your initial thread and other threads, but must be in your own words, no copying and pasting. So make it, obviously we want to see you using your critical thinking skills. It's pretty straightforward though, but did you guys have any questions about that? Nope. Yeah, and I want you guys to really go in there and research this topic. I don't want to go over the pros and cons because I think it's pretty straightforward. And I want you guys to do that research and tell me what you think. Maybe you have experience as a freelance designer. Maybe you already have. I have a lot of students that already have their own freelance business. Bringing that experience in is great that you can talk about this. So, just kind of think about it in that regards if you do have that experience. All right. Sorry guys, I'm going to silence my phone here. All right, so let's go back to your assignment. We're going to talk about, since you guys don't have any questions, I'm going to move on here. We're talking about creating your own personal campaign, promoting yourself. And we're going to jump right into your assignment details since, hey, that's what we have to talk about. So let's go right into, and I'm sorry, I'm flipping back and forth here, your assignment 2 details. We'll read over it. Did you guys get started with this yet? Oh, Bonnie did. Okay, good. I think this is going to be a fun assignment for you guys because obviously it can be the most challenging because you're promoting yourself. I think the hardest thing a designer can do is try to create a logo and a brand for themselves. I think it's very challenging, and I think it's because we just I don't know about you guys, and I know a lot of designers kind of think in this way too. We're always feeling like it's maybe not good enough, but like we're always changing things, trying to update it. So it's a little bit challenging. Like, what do I pick for my brand? So and it doesn't mean that it always has to stay that way. You evolve as you go forward, especially in school. So just think of it that way. You're going to be evolving your work. Okay, so marketing within your brand. So last week you identified potential clients or industries that are a good fit for your personal design style. This week we will be starting to develop your brand by creating some business materials that are designed with that target audience in mind. So for this assignment, choose a target audience from the clients or industries you discussed last week. You should have already created a personal logo in the previous course. If you haven't, you can do so now. You may need to update the logo to make your brand better suited for your target audience before doing this assignment. The goal is to have all elements of your design send a cohesive message that will appeal to your target audience. This is the same thing we as designers do for our clients, only now you are your own client. So for this assignment, you'll be creating 2 marketing pieces. They should go together as part of the same campaign, and both should represent your brand. The purpose of this piece is to announce your business. They should include your logo, contain a specific call to action meant to generate new clients and getting them to go to your website, for example. So it's kind of like, it could be simple. You don't have to be too wordy with that. Postcard is one of the design pieces that you need to do. It can be for mailing or a leave behind for a potential client. A leave behind, you know, obviously it wouldn't be mailable. It would just be something that you would say, here's some of my work, and just kind of leave it behind with them, hand it off. So it's 7 inches by 5 inches. Both sides should be designed. Hey, I see somebody over there. Somebody popped in here. All right, Brittany. Hi, Brittany. Nice for you to join us here. The second one is social media ad, which is 504 pixel square size. Color mode and resolution should be set for web. Looks like we lost Brittany there. She's like, I'm out of here. Okay, so when you submit your work, tell me what target audience you chose and how your designs were made with them in mind. You're going to submit your final files as PDFs with the following naming convention. Okay, so you have your assignment 2, last name, part 1, assignment 2, last name, part 2. So you'll have 2 PDFs. So the first one will be the postcard, the second one will be your social media ad. And what is a campaign? What's that mean? Should they look similar then or different as far as the postcard and social media? Similar, yeah. So, you know, if you have a theme going on, and you may have showed this theme maybe in your mood board that you want to carry through, you know, maybe that theme, you want to kind of carry that through in regards to maybe wording that you put in there. I know some of you guys did do some really unique and creative wording for your headlines, so maybe that's something that you might want to play, you know, put in play for this. The mood board should be the basis to the inspiration behind the overall look of this, of these 2 pieces. Doesn't mean it has to look exactly like your mood board, but it should kind of carry through some similar aspects, maybe color scheme, possibly typography that you place in there, you know, the same style, kind of the look and feel that you had in your mood board. Okay. You guys have designed postcards before, correct? Yes, okay. What about social media ads? No? Okay. That's pretty similar. You're just worrying about the size ratio, and obviously the color mode would be set from what? It wouldn't be, would it be CMYK or RGB? Yep, RGB, good. Now this doesn't really tell you too many details. For instance, it doesn't say you have to have this designed in InDesign or Illustrator or Photoshop. So I'm gonna leave that up to you guys. Obviously you don't really wanna do your logo in Photoshop, but I wanna kind of leave this up to you guys. So I'm gonna kind of do a demo what I would do, but it doesn't necessarily mean you have to go the same way that I'm going. Any questions in regards to this so far? Okay. And then obviously these are the kind of how I'll be evaluating your work. So you might want to kind of read through the rubrics there to kind of get a good idea of how I'm going to kind of do a little check off of your work. All right. So let me get started here. I kind of started my mood board, and let me see if I can open my mood board up before we did a demo on the last time we all met up. Let me pull that up real quick here. So really start thinking about what's the theme that you want to carry through. The theme is your campaign. Is there a certain message that you want to carry through both of your campaign pieces that would probably unify it together, which would be great. Okay. Let me open up my my file here first. Oh, you know what? I didn't even realize I had that for you guys. Let me show you what I'm looking at. I had this in my folder and I forgot. I could have shared this with you guys to kind of create your own mood board. I had this kind of like set like a default template, And I didn't realize that I had this until I looked in my folder. Sorry about that. I showed you kind of a different way to do it in the lecture when we met up before, but yeah, the template. All right, now I'm just trying to find, oh, here I have examples too. Oops, my links aren't linking up here. All right. I had mood boards that I could have showed you guys examples of too, and I forgot to show you. Let me open those up real quick. Some of these are past examples of work that I did too, so I think you guys might be interested in this. And like I said, next time we meet up, I'm going to show you some of your own examples. I think that's kind of nice to see. Okay, some of these are my work. This is something that I worked on, a mood board. This is kind of more extensive than what you guys did for a class that I was taking for my master's degree at SCAD. And I was doing the mood board to get ready to start for a rebrand. They have, it's a collective tattoo and gallery is what the company was, the business. And I was going to revise their brand mark. So this was the book that I kind of created. And like I said, this is a little bit more extensive, but you can kind of see a little bit, you know, a little bit more of an extensive mood board. Give you a good idea here. Let me pull this open a little bit bigger. Okay, so yeah, mine's kind of a little bit more extensive, kind of going in the details about this brand, competitor logo. These are the competitor logos. So what you might want to do, this is kind of like a good suggestion, look at other freelance designers and how they brand themselves. Look at what their logos look like. How are they representing themselves? What are, you know, what do you like? What do you don't like? How are you going to align your logo to what's out there today? You might look on Behance. You might look on Pinterest. You just might do a Google image search of freelance design logo marks. I probably would put in keywords graphic designers logo mark as a search word or something like that, so that you know that's an actual designer logo mark rather than just by a designer. But when you put up, these are all the competitors of who I was rebranding for, you can see what works, maybe what doesn't work, you know, and align your logo perfectly based on where your competition is. How do you differentiate yourself? You know, you don't want to look the same, but you want to make sure you're communicating to the right target audience. You want to make sure it looks different, yet is still kind of in the same field of what the brand is. Here is the color palette that I was looking into. You may have done this all in one. Obviously, you guys were doing this all in one sheet, so it's kind of just showing you it a little different. Typography. I was looking into some inspirational. Now, this is a different project. You guys are working to find out something that's going to show who you are as a designer. This project was inspiration on redesigning this actual specific logo for a brand, for another brand, another company. Here's just imagery that would be in the mood board that I was inspired by, like steampunk kind of a look, textures, photography. Here's more logos that I was inspired by. So you can kind of do your own little folder and, you know, save some of the things that you see that you like, not copy from, just be inspired by them. And that kind of pushes you forward into maybe what you want to do. You know, there would be color, shape, you know, typography, overall design of it. Textures, mood boards, you could have textures in that you're thinking of. Because what's going to happen is when you design these campaign pieces, some of these things that you're wanting to portray yourself or whatever brand that you're trying to do this for, these are the things that help guide you with the decisions that you make with your design elements and your typography. Okay, so that's one mood board that I did. Here's another one, a little bit more extensive, but you can tell textures and patterns and typography. Same thing, just a little bit more actually it is the same thing, so let me click off of that. This is a mood board that I created for this class particularly, that I was giving you guys the template, but I failed to know that I actually had that in there. So this is the template that I put that in as myself here. So textures, here's me. These are actual pictures of me doing some process steps. Here's my process step methodology infographic I created. Some colors that I like to kind of portray myself in, color scheme wise, some other personal pieces that I did. Okay, here's one that is from a student that I went to school with when I was at SCAD, and this is just a mood board that they were doing for a toy store. So this is them looking at competitor logos. Again, this is color palettes, typography, inspiration, brand essence. Like I said, I forgot to show you guys this the last time. That's why I'm going over this. So you guys can get a good idea. Shapes, textures, materials. Here's a word list. You guys can, you guys only had to do 3 words, but you could do more than 3 words when you're doing your mood boards. Competitor logos. Again, this is for another brand. Typography and color schemes, images, imagery style you can put in there that you like, shapes, textures, materials, word list. Here's one for Quillen hotels, competitor logos, color palette. So this is a nice way when you start a project, if you're redesigning for that, like a brand, for their brand, this is a nice way to kind of start your process steps. So you kind of get some good ideas and get inspired by what you see. That's what mood boards are. They get you inspired to find other connections that would be relevant to your topic and what you're trying to do there. All right. So with that being said, that was a little bit of a shift in what I'm going to tell you this week. This is just for kind of like what your mood boards were for last week. I just forgot to show those examples, but use those mood boards to push your campaign. Use some of the elements in there to make part of your campaign. Personal campaigns must be consistent. So what that means is when you see a campaign out there, it could be in a newspaper, it could be on the side of a bus, it could be on the website, it could be on a billboard. But whenever you see that campaign on all of those different artifacts and places, you have to know that that's coming from the same campaign. You're going to say to yourself, oh yeah, I've seen this before. This is part of this brand. If that doesn't happen, there's no connection, it's too disconnected where it doesn't look the same, it's not consistent, it's not going to look like a campaign, it's not going to be successful, and it's not going to be effective. So you have to have similar aspects in each of your design pieces that keeps that campaign unified in order to be effective. And what that does is it just makes people know and puts it in their memory that they've seen that before, but it's in a different place and shown maybe a little bit differently, but it still looks the same. So it kind of works in sticking into the memories of people, and that's kind of what they want you to do, is remember that brand, remember that ad or wherever, whatever you saw. Okay, so think about when you're designing for this, who are you? Write down, who are you? you might do an adjective list. Write some adjectives that you believe describe who you are as a person, as a designer. How can you promote yourself? You know, thinking about that, you know, how can you promote yourself so that you are expressing what you can do as a designer to the right target audience? You know, that could be expressed through the headline and the imagery all together. Who can you actually target? Think about who would actually, you know, say, hey, I want to hire you. Would it be, you know, think about that. It doesn't have to be specifically a person, but, you know, are you more looking at in-house jobs, or are you more of a freelancer and you're kind of putting yourself out there to anybody, any companies and businesses that would want to hire you for work? All right, so let's take a look at some postcards here. You guys are going to be developing your own postcards and following the specs that were given. All right, excuse me. I don't know why I'm like yawning so much today. My brain needs some oxygen. All right, so when we think about postcards, less is more, right? This kind of goes for a lot of different things too, because I think we sometimes, and I know I've been there before, tend to want to design a little bit too much, like put everything in there. Think about a campaign. You don't have to put everything in one piece. You know, especially if you can access the company online and read more about what their services or their product offers. So really kind of what you're doing is getting the attention of your target audience so that they can, you know, your call out is kind of like, find out more is what's going to be on the card. So you don't have to say everything on the card that you do as a designer. Clear call. So again, just making it a call out that's clear. Having a web address, something, you know, something easy so that people know how to get a hold of you and how to find out more. Appeal to the eyes. Appeal to eyes. So, you know, you want to make sure it's visually interesting. This is super important because you are a designer. So you're really going to be, I don't want to say judged, but evaluated in a way and how you present yourself as well. So, you know, obviously if you have really nice design pieces to show, it's really not going to do you any good if you present it in a way that's not holding up to how your work is. So if your presentation is poorly done, your pieces could look fantastic, but they're not going to show that way. You really have to make sure that your overall presentation and how you communicate visually is, you know, is up to par, because it's just not going to work. So less is more. Keep it simple. I know this is a tough one, and sometimes we learn this as we go through the. I know I look back at my work whenever I graduated from school, from my undergrad. I got my first job at an ad agency, and after a year there, I look back at my work as this college student, and I can see how much I changed. You know, I just, I think that's something that sometimes people just need to get through experience-wise to see that less is more. So, you know, you don't want to cram every little detail into our spaces. And I think sometimes our clients pressure us too, because they think they don't know what, you know, they don't know what's best. So they want to cram all the information they think that looks good because they want to say everything they want to say in this one little postcard. But that's not necessarily, you know, it's not going to work. If it's not going to work, it's not going to work. So, you know, we have to make sure that doesn't happen. So here's some examples of some postcards that are very simple. And they say, you know, they say exactly what's going on here. Open day on the one side, and on the other side, it's very warm and welcoming. It's like this watercolor look to it. Typography it's everything's balanced. You have that type on the upper left and then a little square on the lower right. So it's all very nicely balanced. You have the texture, the hierarchy, the alignment, all playing a part. And then on the back side, it's very simple in one color. You are invited. and very specifically to the point says, you know, in a list of location details on, you know, to who it is, on, at, and PS. Okay, so yours is going to be a little different. You can have, you know, yours won't be, you know, an open day kind of a postcard. Yours is just going to be you promoting yourself as a designer. If you need my, you know, if you're interested and you want to see my work, or if you want to hire me, you know, obviously that information needs to be in there. Here's another one that's nicely designed, very simple, monochromatic type of a color scheme here. And, you know, it's using typography and imagery unification of the two to be visually interesting. So it could be as simple as this and be nicely balanced in design. Okay, so I'm going to look up some, okay, I have it here too. I'm going to show you guys this too once I get these slides done here. Here's another one, front and back. And this is, I think this one could be a mail out, yeah, because there's a mailing address in the back. The front would be on the right side, the back on the left side. You can see how it unifies the front and the back, just like these did. Well, this doesn't show the back, but these unify perfectly too. You want to make sure the front looks similar to the back. It doesn't have to have the same exact grid or layout, but it has to have unifying, you know, and consistent elements to it so that you know you're looking at the same message. Has to have a clear call to act. You know, we talked about this before. If you just have your name on there without any kind of call out that's not clear or it's missing, you know, it's just not going to visually communicate, or it's not going to communicate successfully. People are going to look at it and be like, okay, well, I don't know what this is. This is just like showing what he can do, and then that's it. So you want to make sure that there's a clear call to act. So your goal is for people to connect with you. This will most likely happen through your website. So the main call to action with these cards is to get people interested and then to drive people to your site. Okay, so think of it as, you know, you're going to have either your freelance website there that you're going to reference, or maybe just an online personal portfolio page that you're going to reference. We talked about eye appeal. You know, it has to have, you know, if it doesn't look visually interesting and it's not pulling your interest in visually, then, you know, obviously somebody's just going to toss it away. You don't want that happening. You want something to pop and pull the eye in where they're like, oh, I want to, you know, I want to look at this. So show off your best work so that you can showcase the best of who you are. A single great piece is better than a lot of okay pieces. Or consider using just a well-designed written message. Okay, so, you know, you might not have the best work to show, but maybe it's more about what the message is. You know, maybe you can kind of word the headline and subheadline to kind of push it forward. Okay, so with that being said, I actually just looked up some self-promotion, I should probably put promotional graphic design postcards. And there's some really good ones. There are some good ones in here that you can definitely check out. And this is what I said, it's all part of the process. You want to see what kind of other people have done, what things other people have done, be inspired by what you see, and then go forward with how you would communicate yourself as a designer. Remember, this is who you are as a designer, so you really want to make sure that you're putting forth something that you're excited about and that looks good and you think it aligns well with, you know, your competitor freelance designers out there today. There's some Other ones in here. There's some neat things in here for sure. It's just kind of seeing what you like. Even, you know, just having your name in a certain typography style is kind of interesting, or, you know, something really cool like typography wise. It doesn't have to be imagery all the time. So be inspired by what you see. Go out and just take a look at what other people have done promotional wise, postcards, you know, and just start pulling those images off so that you can go back and think about, okay, how do I want to show myself? And, you know, why am I inspired by these images? And how do I want to show who I am? And keep that same style. I like, you know, you might like a certain style that you want to adhere to. Oh, sorry, I should go back here. Any questions about that? So far, so good. Let's see here. I see somebody wrote in the chat, and I'm trying to get up here to the chat area. No? Okay, good. Okay, so, and then, you know, I would start on the postcard first, obviously. Make sure you're, you know, adhering to the specifics here. Both sides should be designed 7 inches by 5 inches, and resolution should be set for print. And then once you're done with that, obviously the social media ad will be a reflection of, the postcard will be a reflection for the social media ad. So you'll want to carry on that same campaign theme into your social media ad. And social media ads are, you know, obviously what they are. They're ads shown on social media apps such as Facebook or Instagram, you know, anything that's, you know, a social media app. You can look at different ads, social media ads as well. Let's see here. Just to see what they look like. There's various types of even social media ads, but at least you get a good example. So they kind of pop up in either Facebook or any type of social media application that you're looking at. So kind of think about that in regards to how you're seeing it online versus print. All right. Before we get into the demo here, I'm going to take a quick 5-minute break. You guys are okay with that? Get a little breather in here, and then we'll start with the demo. Sound good? Easy peasy. All right, I'll see you guys back here in about 5 minutes. Okay, can you guys hear me? It's like 5 minutes is up here. Just trying to gather some other examples. Awesome. I actually got into Pinterest here. I want to show you real quick. Keyword, I put freelance graphic designer self-promotion. I didn't put postcard in, but just self-promotion. And I actually found some really kind of some funny ones here. Here's one. I thought that was kind of funny. Yes, I design logos. What the hell do you do? Kind of cute. This is like a part of a campaign. There's another one in there too. But you can do something funny like that. You know, if it kind of works with who you are and what your style is, you can definitely talk to your audience in the way that you know it's going to get their attention. Some of this stuff is kind of, you have to weed through. But, you know, there's some great inspirational things in here that will maybe give you an idea of how you want to go in your direction. Here's another one, that same campaign. It's the same campaign, just different words being used here. So you could do something like this, very easy. So just think about, you know, what your theme is, how you kind of want to present yourself, how you want to talk to the target audience. All right, with that being said, I'm going to start my demo here, and I'm just going to do the postcard first. Let me share my screen here. I opened up InDesign. I'm going to start mine in InDesign. I just think, I don't know, I just like designing in InDesign. I think it's better to align your work in that way for your different design elements. So here I am in InDesign. Pull this open a little bit bigger here. All right, and this is 7 by 5. And what you want to do, oops, you want to make sure that, let me go to document setup here, file document setup, that you're in inches for the printed piece. Facing pages is turned off. And the only thing that I want to do is I want to add a page. And I could have done that in the beginning and I just forgot. So I'm going to go to pages under window. And I'm going to add just another page here. Okay, so this will be the front and the back of the postcard. So this is the ratio that you're working with. You can adjust your margins and columns under layout if you need to make them smaller. I can put mine to 0.25. No biggie. That's just kind of how you're aligning all of your stuff. All right, so the last time that we met up, this was the mood board that I was working with for the project. I had 2 different variations here. I had my logo. The only thing I didn't have in here were 3 keywords. I just noticed that now. So those 3 keywords that you add in there or the headline that you use could definitely be good to kind of make a connection with your campaign pieces. I noticed that some of you guys had a really nice well thought out and creative headlines. That's something that you might want to carry through to your designs, your campaign pieces. You could carry through some of your pictures, and I would say, you know, especially if it's your own work and it works for your pieces, you can do that as well. This is the template that I just created, so I'm going to delete that. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to save this. I'm going to file save as DES355 assignment 1. And I think it was part 1 we named this after your name. All right, so once you figure out a theme, oh, I'm going to change the margins up here too. Once you decide a theme to this, start playing around with the layout. Start playing around with the grid structure and how you want to have your pieces, your elements kind of align. The front and back of the postcard can be noticeably different and should be in regards to It doesn't have to look like the same exact grid on both sides. You can maybe do a full bleed image here, or a dark color. So it could either be, let me see. There's a lot of different ways to do this, so I'm going to kind of show you some examples here. Oops. Let me pull up some of my work here. That could be a part of this. Inspiration. So let's say I want to kind of drive the point of, design research in my particular concept. That's okay, Brittany, welcome. We're just going over the assignment 2 demo here. And then on the flip side, I could add a headline in here. I could, my details can be on the flip side. So typography that you looked at, that you were inspired by, you can definitely use here. Okay, so I'm going to kind of think of a headline and a typeface that I want to kind of show myself in as far as the style goes. Obviously you don't want to you want to make sure you're abiding by all the typography rules. I noticed there were some of you that had some typography no-nos in your postcard, I want to say. So just kind of make sure you're paying attention to that. Like for instance, using script fonts, in all uppercase is a bad thing because it's hard to read. So make sure you're kind of abiding by that for your project, this project especially, and all projects. I'm just going to go with Avenir. It's a nice, simple font. Design is thinking. Let me help you think. And then maybe, just kind of adjusting this so you have hierarchy in your type. Play around with it, what works. Oops, that doesn't work, right? And then just pay attention to, obviously your overall alignment and balance and all that good stuff. Let me help you. I'm going to pull this out. So I'm just kind of playing around with typography here, just trying to get a good message to get the attention of the target audience. Design is a process. And I think I'm going to set my margins a little bit bigger here, knowing that I can see that there could be an issue with spacing here. Let's just do a half. That's probably fine. I'm just going to align my stuff to that. So there we go. All right. Kind of nice that this little point is right by his pencil here, or pen. Design is thinking, let me help you think. Okay, so that gets you intrigued enough to go on the flip side, and then the flip side obviously is where you're going to be showing maybe your work, what you do, contact information. That doesn't necessarily mean you can't have your call out here either, or your work, but it's just how you want to implement it. You know, how do you want to show it? So in this regards, you know, maybe it's a mailer. If it's a mailer, if you have like an address that you need to mail to, you know, you want to keep this right side open. I would say probably steer clear about 3 inches. So it'd be around 4 here, maybe 4 1/4. That's something that you would obviously get details from the post office for as far as the clear space. And then what you would do is just keep this open. And then this side would be designed. If you're not going to make it a mailable one, you don't have to worry about the clear space. And then you can utilize this whole area here. All right. So maybe on this side, and you could keep it super simple. You don't even have to show pictures if you don't want to. Okay, I probably would come up with a more creative thing, but I'm just kind of winging it here. So, you know, think about your theme and what you would say, because that will definitely help, you know, make your concept stronger. Mine's kind of, you know, pretty simple. Design is thinking, let me help you think. I don't know, I probably would rephrase this like, help me out here. What would be a good tagline to this? Design is thinking, let me help you think. Helping you think. Something like, you know, something, I'd probably change this to something about, I would change the word think here to helping you maybe design or something, helping you design. So I'm not using think in the same area, but you know what I mean? Like just kind of have something a little catchier. I know this is probably not the best wordage here, but, and then, you know, kind of design your pieces. You can leave it as simple as this. You can add some other work in here if you think that, you know, you want to kind of add your, which I think would be a good idea, kind of add your own work, examples. Or you could just have a style in general with just your typography. If it's a leave behind, obviously you want to show your work. So I probably would say, you know, show some pieces of work in there if you have some good pieces to show. So I got, what are the best pieces here, probably? And I'm just choosing acreage structure here that is equal in, probably like zoom in on this one. Yeah, just, you know, everything's aligned in a way that makes sense here. Let's see, preview. And then what I would do is probably make these a little bit smaller. It's getting a little bit too much. You gotta, you know, get that breathing room in there. You can see that space helped it a lot. So less is more. Think about that. You can see how much that helped me just kind of getting that smaller in there. And now I can kind of play around with these again. Oops. Alignment wise. So I think the key here is just to come up with a really interesting theme that you can visually and verbally communicate to your target audience. Something very interesting to kind of keep, make them remember you. So that's what I leave behind is it's all about remembering you. There we go. Oh, hi, Teresa. Sorry, I didn't see you in there. I'm actually going over the assignment 1 demo. Hi, I was kind of involved in my own little process here. I apologize. Yeah, we're just going over a demo for your postcard. This is, you know, just something that I wanted to show you to kind of help you guys get started here. Doesn't mean you have to copy what I'm doing, just giving you some tips. Yeah, postcards are fun. So, you know, I kind of went off, and I'm going to show you again here, my mood board here. I'm going off of some just ideas here. You can use, like I said, you can use the same typography. You can use, obviously, the logo, the colors, imagery, stuff that you're inspired by that you put in your mood board you can use here. I'll probably make this a little smaller. See, you know, it's kind of like one of those things where you see it and then you're like, okay, I need to make this a little smaller and balance things out. But there we go. I think this is just one of those things where it has to be what you think is best for promoting who you are. I can even do something really cool with this. You know, if I don't like how this is so rigid and formal, you know, I can start really playing around with having a more dynamic grid. Maybe with just the images. And or they come off the page, something like that. And I'm going to show maybe more than one. Oh, I think I selected this right. There we go. Just doing a shift select here and then an alt drag. It's not helping me here. Hold on. There we go. So some fun things to kind of play around with. You know, you don't have to have everything the same. It can look a little different. You can kind of make it more look more dynamic. Think about your overall grid structure that you want to play around with. These are just examples that I'm showing from my work. Pieces. Kind of get a good variety of stuff here. Just going to throw in the mobile app one in here. It's going to be duplicating ones. Okay, so this could be your logo can also be used on both sides if you think it works. here, it kind of doesn't look too bad right there. I don't know if I would reverse it back out in black. Yeah, it's something I can definitely test out since this type is black. But anyway, you kind of get the idea of where this is going. I could probably do a few other different design ideas. Yeah, see, you can't see it as good. But I mean, you can see it, but it's not as contrasted as the white. But I think what's really going to help you is not only just how it's presented and how you have your images and elements aligned, but is also your theme of what you're saying here. What is it you're saying? Let me help you think. Helping you design. I'm kind of leaving it like an open-ended thing. Yes, you can use images from your mood board. So I'm showing you the front and the back just to see. Consistency here is probably the logo, obviously where the type is situated. The only thing I probably would change is this type would be maybe the smaller. Let me help you design. And then I probably would make my web address a little bit smaller here. And then obviously adjust the leading, which is the spacing in between. What do we have it set at here? That's probably good right there. Might not be set off enough. I might have to make this just slightly smaller here. Hierarchy-wise. You're still going to see it. It's very contrasted. It's just, you know, you don't want it to look too similar in size if you're wanting that hierarchy there to be the way it should be in proper reading order, I guess is what I'm saying. All right, so design is thinking. Let me help you think. Let me help you design. I don't know if that's the best wordage there, but it's something that I just thought of at the top of my head. But I want you guys to really kind of think about that, you know, research other people's promotional materials, like I said in the beginning. Think about funny sayings that you can bring in. I mean, think about the design field in general. When you're speaking to other designers or even just clients out there that are looking for creatives, you know, they want, sometimes it could be good to be like real witty and be, you know, kind of smart alecky in a way where it's kind of memorable. So, you know, it doesn't have to be a lot, just could be, you know, something that you're saying that's kind of funny and memorable. Putting it out there, what you do, I could probably put a little bit more in detail, but other people can, you know, obviously have a website they can go to check it out, and they see that my work is involving branding and publication and website design. So that all helps in communication, in communicating what I do as a designer. So I could do, let me see here, different textured background. I kind of like the black, kind of sets it off from the front because it's like a black and white. But yeah, I mean, I could swap this out. I like the way that this is because this is showing design thinking. The hand here kind of drawing up some ideas is a good representation of when you're brainstorming, going through that process. Let's see if I can find another one. Oh. I just came up with just textures here. You know, this one isn't as connective to the topic because It's very abstract. Let's see if this one will go. But this one might work, although the type needs to be more contrasted. You could put a drop shadow in there if it's getting too hard to see. And then, you know, obviously maybe using a same color in here for the flip side would make it more unified with the front. And then maybe putting a drop shadow on all of your work here. I'm just showing you kind of some different things to think about. Just keeping it consistent. I'm going to put a drop shadow on these. Pull it back a little bit. Okay. So imagery and wordage, you know, make sure that the imagery and the message goes together, unifies. That's just kind of what we do as designers. We want to make sure that that unifies together. All right, so when we're done, what we're going to do, you know, make sure you're using imagery that is, and I would have to take this back into Photoshop, make sure it's CMYK, print ready, 300 pixels per inch, which is resolution based for print purposes, and then I would save it out. There's my Photoshop's not opening. It would save it out as a TIFF file to place. Now, would you guys like to for me to show you that process, or are you comfortable with that? As far as the Photoshop part, okay. Let me go find my Photoshop because my alias is not working for some reason. And I wasn't thinking that I was going to open up Photoshop, so I don't have it ready. Okay, so when you're ready to open up your images, any images that you use in your postcard, obviously this is for print. You want to make sure that you're dealing with high-res imagery. You're converting it from an RGB to a CMYK. So I'll show you that here in 1 second. I'm going to go to File, Open. I just opened up Photoshop. And now the images that I'm using might be low res because I just quickly downloaded them from Pixabay. But I'll just show you real quick what to look for and how to convert that. So when you download pictures, say from like pixabay.com, make sure that you're downloading the high res. Inspiration, yeah, I think this is a low res image here. So let me open this up. I can get this high res, I just downloaded it low res. So if I go up to image, let me share my desktop so you can see my whole screen here. Okay, if I go up to image in Photoshop and go to image size, this is where I want to check that my resolution is 300, which is perfect. If this is set at 72, you might have to change it to 300. Just make sure that this number doesn't go smaller. Like this is pretty small. So I would probably go and download the higher res. The higher res will probably be between 8 by 10 at 300 pixels per inch. Okay, just make sure the resolution is at 300. The next thing you want to try to check for is image mode. See how its image mode is RGB. We want to change it to CMYK. And then you're going to go File, Save As. And you're going to save it as a TIFF file under Format. I'm going to save this to my desktop so I know where it's at. Okay, looks good. Then I would go back into InDesign, and I would just swap this out with that high-res TIFF, which mine's kind of low res right now, so it might look a little funky when I get it in here. Not too bad. But I just replaced it with the TIFF file. I'm good to go. That's the only image that I have besides these images. So make sure any images that you have, you're kind of going through that same process for print. And then when you're ready to go, you just go up to File, Adobe Presets. I would do smallest file size since I'm looking at your work online. It doesn't have to be large. So just do smallest file size for the PDF and export. And then what I would do is, let me hide my stuff here, hold on. Just go ahead and check, double check your PDF. I would open it up, make sure it looks good on both sides. All right, so that's part one, and that's just an example of part one. You don't have to do it like I did it. Like I said, research it, but this is kind of what we just did in the demo. The next thing is your social media ad, which is 504 pixels square. Color mode resolution be set for the web. So let me go back to InDesign. And I'm going to go File, New. I know you guys can't see this on the top. File, New Document. And we're going to go to Web. And when we choose Web, we have a choice between templates or putting in our own information here. And I believe it was, what did it say, 502? 504. You just type in 504. 504. Pixels is fine, one page, one column. And preview it before we actually create it, but this is pretty much what it is. And it's just a square. So what we're gonna do is kind of carry along this theme. In that one square, it's gonna be one-sided. So what you could do is focus maybe on one part of this. I'm gonna just do copy and paste it. Oops, that was my mood board, sorry. This can have a different, totally different saying on here. But it should look similar, you know, it should be a similar theme in what you're saying. So for this one, I don't know, maybe I could try something else here. Move my samples up and over. Something like that, maybe. All right, so I can keep it as simple as that. Let me help you design. I can even bring in this headline in here, kind of to support this a little bit more. Like I said, I'm not sure if this is the best titling here, but you kind of get the idea of using that similar grid structure, using elements that are similar, and just carrying the message in a different, you know, in a way that it looks very united with the campaign. it corresponds with that campaign, so that if you see it in different contexts, you know what it is. And I could do something like this too, where I'm kind of splitting this up a little bit. I'm not sure if this is going to work, but we'll see. This might be too much, might be too much, but we'll see here. And I could probably flip this, so maybe that's down here and that's here. You know, I'm trying different things here. Trying to get it so it's a little bit readable on this side if I'm doing something like this. Just kind of pushing around the wording here. And then obviously this would be there. You know, and I could even make this diagonal too. Hold on, I think somebody just chatted in there and I might have missed it here. Yes, social media ad demo. If I did something like this, I probably would use the diagonal in my other layout too. Maybe not. That's actually not too bad. It doesn't look too far from it, but kind of separates it nicely so that you can see the examples and also the connection of the picture here, which kind of shows the thumbnail process. I could even, if I wanted to use that other image, that black and white image of the pen, or the pencil, I could use that in here too, if I used it on the other one. But you kind of get the idea. It's kind of the same. Hold on 1 second here. I don't know if this is actually going to work for this. We'll see. Not too bad. I just have to redo the dark copy here. The other one I think works a little bit better. Oops. We're not placing that. Okay. Don't forget to do a file save as. Assignment 2. Then you're going to do part 2 for this one. It says that in the instructions too. Okay. And then we could just go file save as. This one is going to be saved for the web. So what you'll want to do is go back and use the original JPEG that I had in here for this one, which is the lower res image that was not converted to CMYK. It was RGB from the original download. So I just replaced that. And then just make sure all of your images are also converted to RGB as well. And that you could do that in Photoshop as I showed you for the printed version. So just convert it if it needs to be. Usually if you have both variations, if you have the low res and the high res of the same image, that kind of saves you from going and, you know, having to redo it. You can do the smallest file size for this one, for the PDF. And again, just make sure when you're done creating the PDF, oops, share my desktop here. You'll want to see what it looks like as a PDF. I'm not sure if I like this one. I might go back to the one that's kind of has the solid bottom. I think that was easier to read, especially on a social media site. But I wanted to show you kind of different variations of that. And then obviously this is your postcard. Okay, so you're kind of seeing both the same theme there, same idea. It's unifying together. The elements are unifying, the colors unifying. The wording is changing slightly. You could definitely change the headline up, just making sure it's in that same theme. But make it interesting, make it so that you're speaking to your target audience. It doesn't always have to be serious. It can be fun and playful, obviously respectful, but yes, so that was this part here, social media. Your resolution will be 72 pixels per inch instead of 300. And your color mode is RGB. And then as it says down here, how you will name this, part 1 and part 2 split up. Any questions?
Okay, so you're saying that for the part 1 and part 1 is the postcard, and then part 2 is the social media ad?
Yeah. Yep. So you can see it right here. It's written as both parts in this assignment details here. Yep. And the postcard, don't forget there's 2 sides to the postcard. 2 sides to the postcard, but obviously not the social media ad. The social media ad is just one-sided because it's just an ad. It's not really a printed piece. I think this is, like I said, just have fun with this. Obviously you want it to look good, but you want to show your creative side too. So I would highly suggest research what other designers do self-promotional materials. You don't have to look specifically at postcards. You can look at other identity pieces that would, communicate a promotional piece for them. Just see how they go about it. I think that's key to being inspired by kind of your theme. What are you going to do? How are you going to do this a little differently, but keep it, so that it's aligning with who you are. So you might not realize that you could go a certain way concept-wise until you see other people doing really different things, like I showed you with the Pinterest examples. I don't know if I have. I think the last time I taught this class, they changed it up a little bit, so I don't even think I have any student examples to show you, because I usually do, but I taught this a few years ago, and they had changed it since. So let me see. See what I have in here. Hold on a second. Anybody else have any questions while I'm kind of sifting through some stuff here? Logos, no. Oh, here's some logos I can show you. Just kind of some interesting typography logos that are like with the initials. Yeah, if you're thinking about doing it in this way, these are just, I think this was some student examples. This class changed a bit since I last taught it, like I said. So this isn't what you guys have to do. I'm just showing you how some students are playing around with their logo. So if you're having issues or needing inspiration, some of these examples could maybe push you a little further and maybe inspire you to kind of play around with maybe your initials, like the student did, as well as the student. You know, you can do some really fun stuff with the positive and the negative space with your initials that could, yep. It could be all typography, yep. Typography is a great way to show something differently because you're not, you know, it's typography based. As long as the typography, you know, is appropriate for what you're doing. If it's not, then that's when it fails to really communicate the message. But yeah, definitely all, I would say, you know, go for it. Here's some other, let me pull up some more logos here. I guess we did logos because kind of a, oh, sorry. Let's see, this one is the one I wanted to show you. Yeah, these are more word, kind of word, they're not word mark, they're initial logos. Playing around with different orientations, different typography. I'm finding all kinds of different things in these folders here. That's kind of why I'm saying, oh yeah, here, this is another one. Here's a mood board another student did the last time I taught this class. Some mood boards here. So yeah, I mean, gain that inspiration from your mood board. That's why we did it. You're thinking about, you know, that's why we did the mood board, to kind of come up with some ideas for your self-promotional materials. That's the whole idea behind it. You don't necessarily have to use everything on there. It's just something to kind of get you start thinking about how you want to visualize yourself as a designer, how you want to communicate that and promote yourself. All right. I think that's all I have. Let me see if I have any more slides here. I think that's pretty much all I have for you guys today. So I'm going to wrap it up if you guys don't have any other questions. And tomorrow, it looks like that's it. We're going to be going over your assignment to information. Yeah, okay. My slide's totally missing here. Yeah, that was pretty much all I have for you guys. So looks like that was the end of my slides there. There we go. All right, so I'm just gonna wrap it up. If you guys have any questions, let me know. If you came in a little late, I know I could have shifted the time here. I apologize. Thank you for your patience. But definitely listen to the recording. We went over your discussion, the beginning of your assignment details that you might have missed. All right, thank you, Teresa. Have a great night. The lecture will be as scheduled tomorrow unless you hear otherwise, Brittany. Sorry, I just saw that. All right, guys, have a great night. I'll hopefully be seeing you tomorrow.